Evening, everybody. Icy here. Couple of things I'm going to point out, let you all make your own conclusions, but it's something that I've noticed that is creeping across the country at this present time, and it's not illegals this time. All right, let's look at it this way. You have people fleeing New York State, where I live. You have people fleeing California. And these people are all going to predominantly red states. So these are people that have lived, we'll say, the majority of their life in a Democrat-controlled blue state. Now, why are they fleeing? Why are they going to another state? After all, everything that they have currently in their state are the very things that they voted for, that they supported, that they demanded. Now, for example, California. Gas is through the roof. The electricity, you have brownouts. They're shutting down hydroelectric plants. They're trying to force the entire state to live off of wind and solar, which is impossible. They refuse to fix the problem in dealing with the brush and dead leaves, dead trees, and they won't create enough dams to hold water because the state you need water. And they're in the cities like in LA and that, they're telling people you can't use water to water your lawn. That's ridiculous. If they bothered to plan ahead for having enough water during dry seasons, they wouldn't have this issue. If they installed enough reservoirs throughout the state, you'd have ample water for fighting fires. I mean, enough about that. I mean, the environmentalists are the problem when it comes to that. You can't remove dead brush because some frog or some insect used to live there, so they're screaming and hollering and holding their breath until they turn blue, and the Democratic leadership is just caving into them over stupidity. So now you have these people that for the vast majority of their life, like I said, have lived in a blue state. Now they're moving to places such as Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas. They're moving into the predominantly red states. Now, one of the things that I've noticed, we'll use the city of Houston as an example. A lot of people from the blue states moved to Texas. A lot of them moved to the Houston, Texas area. And then they decided they wanted to run for public office. So now you have Democrats that are in control of a city in a predominantly red state, exerting their blue values upon the people within the city or the state. This is where the problem is. You can't keep doing the same crap over and over again expecting a different outlook. You fled a state that was corrupt, that was high priced, that was not safe, that was impossible to live in. Everything was through the roof price wise. So what do? You fled to go to some place, and now you're going to take those same stupid values that you had where you lived and try to impose them upon the people where you moved to. Complaints, disrespect. These are the things that you bring with you when you come to a new location. You have to learn to keep your mouth shut. You have to learn to adapt to live their lifestyle. You do that, you're going to be a lot happier because look at it. If their taxes are less, if the values are more God and country and respect for each other, and they don't force things down your throat. If you try to take over, the government and get into it because you miss the old ways, just move the fuck back to California. Nobody told you to move. Nobody asked you to move. It's a choice that you made yourself to get away from that lifestyle. So if you're choosing to move away from that lifestyle, don't bring this shit with you when you go to the new place. Common sense, And I really feel sorry for you, but I'll give you a good example. We had one here in New York when I was living downstate just north of New York City. We had these people that moved into our county, and we used to call them city idiots. They moved into our county because it was cheaper for them to drive an hour to work every day than it was to live in the city. So where for example, rent for a studio apartment is over $2,000, almost $3,000 a month, for that same amount of money that they were spending on a lousy apartment, they could move up to where I lived and they could buy a house for the same amount of money each month. So it was more cost effective for them, and they picked up some equity. So these people moved to my community. And after they'd been there for less than a year, they started complaining to the town board about smells. And we're saying, what do you mean smells? Well, we live on this street, and there's this farm, and we keep smelling the cows. Yeah, so? Well, we want the smell to stop. You want the smell to stop? Fine. Move back to the fucking city. This is the country. Cows live in the fields. Cows crap in the fields. Guess what? You're going to smell cows. You don't like it. No one asked you to move here. Move your happy ass back to the city where you can smell garbage in the street, people puking and pissing on the sidewalks, and you could be happy. Okay? So these people were embarrassed that they even brought it up, but it brought up a valid point. If you come to an area, which, like I said, if you come from one place, don't bring your values from there to the new place you're moving to. It's disrespectful. You came to our community. We didn't go to yours. You have to abide by our rules, by our values. You have to learn to adapt. Don't bring your bad habits here. I mean, one of the reasons we had problems in my town was these people moved into an area we used, miniature Bronx. And what used to be a quiet town became very noisy at night, with kids running in the streets 11, 12 o'clock at night, violation of the curfew time frame, because we had a curfew for kids. It's being respectful, responsible. Your parents, you want your kids in the house at a certain time. You want them to get a proper amount of sleep so they could study good in school. But these kids are running around. They were just like they were back in the city. They just didn't care. And the parents, they just didn't care. They're sitting in the house not worrying about what their kids are doing out in the street. So they got into a couple of rows with the cops, and the cops told them, if you don't control your kids, we're just going to arrest you. So it kind of stopped. But that's what I mean. If you bring in your bad habits from where you live to where you're moving to, you're going to be the problem. Change your habits. It's very simple. Icy out.